Good evening, everyone. This is Julia O'Hara with USF Housing and Residential Education. I'm joined by David Kloiber, Associate Director for Operations and Outreach with USF Housing and Residential Education. We are here live and here to provide information about the spring 2021 housing application and room selection process. So type your questions in the comments and we'll answer you live on the show. Hey, Dave, how are you?
I'm great. How are you, Julia?
I'm great. Thanks for joining us tonight, you and Walter. It's great to see you both.
Yeah, there's Walter in the background, sitting there nice and comfy.
Looks like it. Well, thanks again, Dave, and we're really excited to chat with you tonight about the spring 2021 semester. The application is open, and we're going to be talking about the upcoming room selection process. But before we get started, I did want to point out that this is specifically for students incoming for the spring semester and those that are not living on campus currently, correct?
Correct.
Okay, great. So I just wanted to preface that before we get into some questions. So the first thing I wanted to talk about are the steps to apply to live on campus for the spring 2021 semester. Can you go over that for us?
Sure, I can. So the first step is obviously you want to apply for USF. And so if you're listening to this show, I'm hoping that your application has gone through and you've gotten your admission to the university. So once you're admitted, you can then go to the housing portal, which is available through our website at www.usf.edu/housing. Click on the housing portal link, log in using your NetID and password, and then go to apply, select the spring application, and then go through all the steps in the application to at least submit your application. At the end, you'll be asked to indicate that you've read the agreement that goes with the application, and you're going to check off that you've read various different sections, and then you'll be all ready to go. Now, if you're under 18, don't worry, you can still accept the agreement, but you'll be asked to submit a email address for a parent or guardian to go in, read the agreement as well, and also log in and accept the agreement. So once all that's completed, you've taken your first step into getting an assignment here at USF. You'll be billed a $50 non-refundable application fee, and you'll be able to submit payment for that the following day. Now, if you've got a housing admissions or if you've got an admissions deposit already on your account, it may go toward that $50. So don't be surprised if the next day you log in and you're like, I don't see a fee there. It may have already been paid. So just keep an eye out. But we usually will get those fees put into your account by about 10 o'clock the next business day. So once you've applied and you paid your application fee, you also need to make sure that your immunizations are submitted and approved by Student Health Services. And then finally, that you've registered for orientation. Now, as a new student, orientation registration has not opened yet, so you do want to keep an eye on your email to make sure when orientation opens up so that you can log in and complete your orientation registration. And if you do all 4 of those steps, then you're ready to select a room.
Wonderful, thank you. And since we are on Teams, we're wondering if you could go and show us by sharing your screen where to access the housing portal and the spring application.
Sure, no problem. So I'm going to share my screen. And so hopefully you can see it now. And you'll see that I'm at the, excellent. I'm at the housing website. And so here we are at the housing portal. Click that link. Now I've already logged in a whole bunch of times, and so it'll go straight into the housing portal. For most of us, you'll actually have to enter your NetID and password. Then you'll want to go to apply. And because we're looking at spring, you want to apply for spring. And then the spring only housing application. And so once you click onto that, it's going to open up and say, welcome, my name's Screen Demo. And then you can read that lovely little entry, welcome statement. And then you'll press continue, complete all the information here, press continue, and keep going through until you complete your application.
Great, thank you. So the next question I have for you is, when are the room selection dates? And you still have your screen shared, Dave, just to give you a heads up.
Yeah, I'm going to undo that now.
Thank you. When is room selection? When does that begin for the different student groups?
Okay, so for our continuing students, so our students who are currently here attending classes at USF, or maybe they took a semester off, but they've already been admitted previous to spring of 2021, they can, and they're not living on campus right now, their opportunity to begin room selection will actually begin on Monday at noon. So Monday, October 5th at noon.
Okay, and we're getting a question from the audience member. William is asking if he received an email, why did he receive an email stating that his room selection time is 1:30 on Monday, October 5th, when the website, and you just said the room selection opens at noon. Do you want to go into the different time slots that students have?
Definitely. So I can tell you right now that we have a little over 400 people that are ready to select a room. And if 400 people try to go in and do what's really a very resource-intensive process, they could crash our system. And so what we try to do is we're going to spread it out by groups of 50 that can start at each start time. And so beginning at noon, the first 50 people who have completed their application, so we look at the date of completion, so the date you paid your application fee, and then the tiebreaker would then be who applied first. And so we have those ranked in order. And so for this particular individual, if they're starting at 1:30 on the 5th, that means they're in the group that's 101 to 150. And so you could be the 101st person that had completed their application and their application fee, and depending on when they submitted their application. And so we have those times all spaced out. We started running them yesterday, and we will update those times each day. And you'll be able to, when you log in, you'll be able to see your selection time in the portal.
Perfect, thank you. I'm sure that's very helpful too for people that are assigned a time to understand the difference there. Deedon is asking, they start USF in the spring. For housing, the only requirement that they're missing is orientation, and it says that they cannot sign up for orientation until it opens up in October. Is it true that orientation reservations don't open up until October? That's the question, and then my add-on question to that would be if you know when orientation is opening up and what that process is like.
I'm not sure if orientation has publicized their start date yet, but I can tell you that it will be before October 21st, which is the first day that our new students to USF, our new spring 2020 admits, will be able to start selecting a room. And so on the 21st of October, if you've already registered for orientation, that's going to be in the system, and you'll be able to actually start selecting your room.
Perfect. Thank you for that clarification too. Another question from William. How many available spaces are there to be expected in the halls? I understand Pinnacle is one of the more popular halls. Do you expect that there will be opening there if I am timely when I select my room on Monday?
The last time I checked, there were at least 20 or more beds available in Pinnacle, and all those rooms are single rooms. And so that is probably why it's one of our more popular options. While Pinnacle was designed as primarily double rooms, for the last couple of years, we've opened up that building as what we call a super single. And so whether it's a suite or a traditional style room, we've opened all of those double rooms up as super singles. And so there's only one bed, dresser, desk, chair in the room. And so if you select that building, you'll have that room for yourself. Now, don't let that discourage you. There are other super single options throughout campus. At this time, we lost a few students for the fall in terms of living on campus due to online classes and so on. And so we do have a number of rooms available right now, and we even have super single options or the ability to request a super single in our other traditional and suite style buildings. And so if you want a super single and you can't get one in Pinnacle, you can try to find an empty room in another building and then request that room to become a super single, and we can make that happen for you.
Great, thank you. And Kelly is asking, if I was an ACE student this summer and stayed home for this semester, the fall, Do they have the choice of any residence hall or an ACE residence hall?
So, as an ACE student, technically you always have the choice of any building, except in the summer. And so for the fall or spring, as an ACE student, even though you were in the ACE housing for the summer, you could still select any building in the fall or spring. So you will have any option of any building in the fall. The only option you won't have as an incoming first time in college student for this year is Cypress C, because we reserve that one for our continuing students from previous admit years.
Okay, great. And May Numa is just joining us and asking when room selection occurs. So just as a summary, could you talk about those two dates again and for what student group they're each for?
Sure. For our continuing students, so our students who are currently here at the university but not living on campus, or if they've been admitted in previous terms, even though you may not be attending this fall, you would still be considered a continuing student at the university. Your selection would begin as early as Monday at noon. Depending on when you completed your application, if you've even applied yet, that will dictate what time you get to begin selecting your room. Now, if you're a new admit for spring of 2021, then your selection time would begin on or after October 21st at noon.
Great. And so let's move forward with the planned questions that I have for you, specifically how do you select a room? So I'm not sure if you have the opportunity to show us specifically what that looks like, or if you want to just walk through it, talk about what it will look like for the student as they log into the housing portal and have that in front of them.
Let me see. I'll talk about it, and while I'm talking about it, I'll see if I have the ability to actually show what it might look like, because I know that would be a great plus for a lot of our students watching and or listening right now. So obviously you need to have all 4 steps of your application completed, and as I said earlier, those steps are: you've submitted your application and your completed agreement, you've paid your application fee of $50, you have submitted your immunizations and had them approved by Student Health Services. And immunizations does not include a COVID test. If there's a requirement for anything regarding COVID, you'll get more information about that later, but that is not part of the standard immunizations. So I do want to make sure you're aware, everybody's aware of that. And then finally, that you've registered for orientation. And so I am almost at the point where I can see if I can demo some of this. So give me one more moment. I don't know if I actually have an application that is ready. I don't apply that often. So let me do a quick check.
Okay, thank you for looking. Going off of the question that was asked by William earlier with the super single rooms, he's asking what that process for requesting one would look like. That would just be finding it through the room selection process, correct?
We do have some that are already designated as super singles, and so you would be able to select that as part of the filter or search criteria that you use when you're in the room selection template. And if you don't find one and you find an empty double room that you would like to request to be made a super single, you can select that room and then submit a request form on the housing portal. And then we will do our best to either make it happen in the room that you selected, or if someone selected that other bed in the time that you put in your request, maybe we can find you another location.
Okay, great. And we have updated the hall rates on our website to identify what a single rate would be in a traditional space and then what that normal traditional space would be. So if you do wish to convert the room to a single and it's available to do so, you can go onto the housing portal, submit that application or request to do so, and then the hall rates that are listed on the website as a single would be the price that would be charged for that single space.
Correct.
So how is that looking on your end, Dave, for the room selection?
I'm sorry, I don't have a demonstration. But, we do have a video that's available on I believe on our YouTube channel that will show a little bit about what room selection looks like.
Hmm.
And so I would encourage everybody, please go there and check it. But I can at least show you how you'd find the room selection.
Right.
If
And
you would like me
what
to
we
share
can
the
do, yeah, if you want to go
page.
ahead and share your screen and show where to go for room selection, that'd be great. And also, I'll be sure to drop in the comments of the video that everyone's watching right now the link to that video. I believe it's titled "How to Select a Room on Campus."
So right here under assign, right now it says, sorry, not available at this time, come back soon. But when it is available, it'll be dark green like apply is. You'd click assign and then just keep following the prompts. It's as simple as that. Now, if you do have a roommate group, there is some information that you'll be asked about your roommate group. And I'm sure that we're going to talk more about roommate groups in a little bit.
Yes, I have some questions for you about that. We are getting some
I
great.
figured you would.
We're getting some great questions from the audience that I'm definitely going to get through all these questions soon. I'm going to jump back into some audience questions since they are coming in. A great question from Andrea. Are students given room selection times for October 21st, just like we talked about they would for the October 5th room selection process? Are they also given the time slots?
Yes, they will.
Perfect.
We're hoping that we'll have, hundreds of, if not 1,000 or more students that are going to look to go through room selection. And so don't worry, we have those beds available. But we're hoping that, right now I have over 700 active applications for housing for the spring. And so a few hundred more, we're already over 1,000, and we do expect this to be a busy selection process, because we're expecting that a lot of students who said, maybe I'm not comfortable coming back for the fall or coming for the fall because of everything that's been going on in the country. They may feel a lot more comfortable now. Florida's rates are down, and we had this wonderful I don't know what to call it, piece on today on the Today Show.
The news feature, yeah.
Yeah, showing how USF is a leader, and it seems to be a leader in the country in our response to COVID-19 and trying to keep our students and our staff safe. And so I expect that housing is going to be a hot commodity again, like it used to be in the past.
Great. And speaking of the changes that are being made to promote a healthy and safe community, Lori is asking, in light of COVID-19, are tours available for the different housing options?
Boy, I wish I could say yes, but in light of COVID-19, no. But we do have some virtual options available on our website, I believe. And Julia, you'd be the one who could certainly tell me that if that's still accurate. But I would encourage you, please check our website. A lot of the descriptions, we have a lot of photos of rooms, of actual rooms, not rooms that we decorated, but rooms that students said, yeah, take pictures of my room. I think we have a lot on Pinterest. I don't have an account on Pinterest, but I'm sure a lot of other people do. But yeah, take advantage of all the resources that we have available. Use our Facebook groups to talk to other students. Maybe they want to do a little video of where they live right now. And so maybe they'd be interested in doing that and posting it on the groups. There might be some wonderful opportunities there.
So Dave, while we took a mini break, you went ahead and set up the room selection demo for us to take a look at, right?
I did.
All right, let's take a look.
Okay, let me share my screen. I figured why not use the time that we had to provide a demonstration. So this is actually the fall spring template, but it'll look very similar to what our students will be using for spring. It'll start out with some instructions about how wonderful it is to live the Bulls life, and a little bit more information about how long there's a room change process that's part of room selection. And so you'll read that information, then click continue. And then it will say up here, you don't have to select anything. It's already been pre-selected. But for our spring students, the fall won't be there. It'll just be the spring. And so
And Dave, while
if
we're
you
on the
have,
screen, this
sure,
answers a couple of questions that we've been getting of when the move-in date for spring is. So
hmm
is that date that we're looking at right there, January 9th, is that the move-in date, or do you have the date on you for that beginning of
that
spring?
that is the move-in date that
Okay,
we currently have scheduled. Please note that there may always be possible changes to the move-in date, but that's the date that I have right now, and that's the date that we've scheduled for all the students that currently have a spring assignment.
perfect. Thank you.
And so if you have a roommate group, you'd have some roommate information right here. I don't happen to have one, and so I have no roommate group information here. But if I did, I'd have the ability to just verify that the roommates that I have in my group are showing up. Now, if for some reason a roommate that you had in your group either dropped out, you would have gotten an email saying, hey, your roommate dropped out of your roommate group. Or maybe for some reason they're no longer eligible to select a room. Maybe they canceled their assignment or their application and didn't tell you. They won't show up there. So only students that are available to assign as a roommate will show up there in your roommate group. All right? And remember, all roommate groups are pre-arranged. And so I could try to show some information on how to set up a roommate group later on.
Okay.
And so
great.
you'll click continue. There'll be some information here that you'll want to read. We are actually going to expand this information to provide some great tips and advice on how to navigate the next page that you're about to see. But right now it just says, hey, before you go start looking at rooms, check out the hall rates. And so there is a link right here to the hall rates on our website. And so if you click that, it would go to an external, open up a new window to show you the rates from our housing website. Then you'll click continue. And this is where the magic happens. This is where you can search for whatever bed you're interested in. Now, you can do it in a bunch of different ways. There is the visual map here, and we are actually hoping to upgrade our map soon. And that's something I'm going to talk to Julie about later, because I think we have a very swanky new map that was designed by one of our wonderful staff over in our marketing office. But anywhere you see a green box is a building or an area that will have a room that you could select. And that's how the map begins. You can also do a table display, which I'll show in a moment. But you can also do some searches by maybe what kind of style do you want? Do you want an apartment, a suite, or a traditional room? Do you want a room that's a single bedroom, a double bedroom, or a triple bedroom? Yes, we do have a few of those, but they're actually not going to be available for this year.
And Dave, while you're on the bedroom type, can you clarify the difference between the apartment, traditional, and suite while you're there? Because we're getting some questions about that too that we can talk about
Sure.
here.
So apartment style it's a anywhere from 1 to 4 bedroom apartment. Actually, we don't have a 1 bedroom. Let's say 2 to 4 bedroom apartment. Each bedroom could be either a single or a double room. So it would have 1 bed in the bedroom or 2 beds in the bedroom. And it has a kitchen and a living room. So that's our apartment style.
And
now our suite.
Do
Go
Holly
ahead.
Apartments, Menuma is asking, because we're on this topic, so I'll ask now, are there any single rooms available in Holly Apartments?
There are single bedrooms, but not single apartments. And
Right.
so
Okay.
we don't offer an apartment for one person. But we do offer apartments where a person can have their own bedroom, but share the apartment with other people in other bedrooms.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And so our suite style is there's a bathroom attached to the bedroom, either directly from the bedroom or maybe through I'm going to call it an anteroom between the bedroom and the hallway that would access bathrooms. But that's basically a attached bathroom to a bedroom, but it doesn't have a living room or a kitchen within that unit. And so our suites could be a single bedroom, a double bedroom, It could have a single or a double with its own bathroom, or it could be, let's say, 2 double rooms with a shared bath. And so you want to do some research on our website, and we do indicate apartment style, suite style, traditional style on our website when you're doing your research there. And you'll always want to try and do that research before you go and look at room selection. And then finally, our traditional room is you have a room, whether it's a single or a double or a triple room, and you'll leave your room to go to the bathroom down the hall.
And
The
Dave,
go ahead.
what is the difference, since we're on this now, the difference between a single room and a super single room? That's a question from Lori.
Okay, sure. A single room is a room that's designed for one bed, where a super single room is a room that's actually designed for 2 people, 2 beds, but we're only going to assign 1 person to it. Now, in Pinnacle Hall, which we talked about earlier in our broadcast, Pinnacle Hall only has 1 set of furniture in all the rooms, whether it's a design single or technically a design double, but we're opening them all as single rooms for either a super single or a standard single. Now, where we offer super singles elsewhere on campus, we are not going to be removing the second bed. We're just offering that option because we know we have an influx of beds that are available. And if we can offer a student the ability to have a single room in a building that typically wouldn't have one, like Juniper or Poplar, we want to make that happen for our students.
Right.
And so that's really the difference.
Okay, great. Thank you.
So that's the unit style. Then we have the bedroom. Maybe you want a single, maybe you want a triple. Like I said, you're not going to be able to find any this year. But hopefully for next year, when God willing, everything's back to normal, we're going to be offering that real triple room again. Go ahead.
Are the the super corner single, is that going to be an option? That's another question from Lori. She sees it on the hall rate list, but cannot find more information about the website on the website.
Super singles are really something new for this year, and so we haven't really added them. And I'll be honest, right now we have 93 that are not in Pinnacle Hall. Out of all the rooms that we have on campus right now, we only have 93 that are set up. But and so that's why you haven't seen anything on the website extensively about that. But
and is this
essentially,
about the super corner
the
single?
corner double, there are corner doubles that were converted to super singles. Yes.
All right, great.
And so if let's say the bathroom's the most important thing for you. I'm good with the bathroom down the hall. I want a private bathroom, or I want a shared unit bathroom. So hall bathroom, I leave my room, go down the hall. That's in traditional style. Private bathroom that's what we're talking about, a super single or or at least a room that I've set up initially as a super single. So Pinnacle would show up as a private bathroom. Any room that's truly a single that has a bathroom attached. So that would be primarily really only in the Village. Would you find a private room with a private bath. And then finally, our shared unit bathrooms, that would include apartments or suites. And so those are the 3 bathroom styles. Then you have kitchen in unit or out of unit. If it's in unit, that means it's an apartment. If it's not in the unit, that means it's anything else. And then finally, room description. So this is where, let's say you're really interested in that converted corner double or that super corner double. This is where you could actually select by that room type. Now, I'm using what we call our development site, and so I don't have a lot of super singles on here right now, but I do have some, let's say, in Pinnacle, and so I could say, I want my own bathroom, and I want a double room to myself. So I'm going to look for, is there a Pinnacle super single, and I can hit search. And it's going to tell me, hey, there's one available in the Village complex. So, because I can see the one there. And it's going to say, where's the Village? It's right here. Then the Village is going to come into view. I'm going to say Pinnacle Hall because I knew that's where it was. It's going to tell me, oh, there's the green box. That means it's on the top floor. And now it's going to show me the entire floor. Where on the floor is it? In the green box. See, there's none here, but there will be one here. And finally, it's going to tell me, oh, there it is, the one green bed. And so
the green fields really lead you, just to comment on what you're showing us, the green fields seem to lead you to where the selection that you're trying to make is going to be.
Yep,
So
green is go, red is stop.
Makes sense.
So, and then you could click on the bed space. It tells you, if you hover over it, it's going to tell you a little bit about it. If you hover over the room, you can click on it, and now it's going to say, okay, this is the room. I guess you got to click on the actual bed. There you go. And so this is the room I want. If I want to know a little bit more information about the room, I can go to the room link here and click on that, and it's going to tell me it's a suite style, single bedroom, private bathroom, no kitchen and unit. This is the room type. This is the unit, so on and so forth. And this is how much it costs per term. Really good thing if cost is important to you, which it is to most people I know, just to check all this information. And you can also check the room link. And it'll give you also a little bit more information there as well, but not as much as the bed level. And so if I wanted this, I would just say, I would scroll down to the bottom and say continue. Let's say, you know what, I don't really want that, it costs too much. So I'm going to go and pick a different room. I can put in a different search, and I can say, I think I want to be in just a double suite. And so I can search by Beacon double suite. It's going to tell me there are 10 available in the village. I can also navigate by going here and using the drop downs here, or I could do, remember I told you earlier about table display, I could go to table display up in the corner here. And then these are the rooms that have an available bed. Some of them have 2 beds available. That's a double. That means no one already lives there. Both beds are available. Or if only one's available, that means, hey, somebody already lives there. So I'm going to go back to map display just for a second, and we're going to go back to the 3rd floor because I want to show you how you can learn a little bit about maybe some of your roommates' preferences before you select a room. So here's the green box. And now we're going to find the green beds. So here's a green bed with a red bed in the room. The box is green. It's got a bath, but one bed is green, but one bed is red. So let's find out a little bit about that person. So I could click on that red bed, and I'm going to be able to see, the person doesn't smoke. They don't want a smoking roommate. They're neat. They like their room cool, and they're not a night person. Well, you know what? That's a great match for me. And so maybe I want to live with that person. And so I could click the other bed. And again, I'm in the same type of screen I saw before. And again, I can double check. It's a suite. For some reason, I don't have bedroom type there, but it will be there on the production site. Shared unit in bathroom because it's sharing the bathroom with somebody else. Here's the room type, no kitchen. Room gender is male, so I'm going to be living with someone because I'm a guy. And then that's the cost. And so if I want that, then I can say, yep, that's what I want. Continue. It's going to say, here are the details. Remember, I'm booking for fall and spring right now on this development site. But if you were a student just booking for spring, you'd only see the spring information. And if you had roommates that you also booked at the same time, because you can select a bed not just for yourself, but also for your roommate. If you have a roommate group, you'd see their bookings too. And then if everything's good, you're okay with the price, you're okay with the room, click submit. And now it's going to say, hey, you're all done. Now you can view your assignment and your roommates and suite mates if you really want to. And there'll be a report right here where you can say, I want to see my roommate and suite mate for the spring term. Click preview. I'm not going to click preview because it will show someone else's information on the screen here for everybody to see, and so I don't want to do that. But that's room selection in a nutshell.
Wonderful. Thanks for setting that up, Dave. That's really helpful. I know that seeing the step-by-step process is going to be helpful for a lot of people, so we'll definitely make sure that we get a copy of this video somewhere available to people who wouldn't be able to tune in tonight so that they can go back and see the process of selecting a room and what that's going to look like for them during their date. So I want to get to roommate groups, but before we do that, I'm going to go through a few questions that have come in from the audience while we took our little break. So I'm going to ask you some questions, and then when we get through these questions, we'll jump into roommate group to finish things off. So the first question I have for you is from Alexa asking, if a student is part of a sorority, what's the room selection process for them?
Okay, so it is actually a very different process because the fraternity or sorority would tell us where students are going to be assigned. And so ideally, you'll be working with your fraternity or sorority, in this case, a sorority, to they're going to determine who you're going to live with, what sister you're going to live with, and they'll make that assignment. They'll tell our office, and then once you're ready for assignment, we will actually assign you. And so if you have questions about how exactly they make that determination, you'd want to reach out to your organization.
Great. And Bajwa is asking, what documents are needed for international students with regards to housing?
It's actually no different than our domestic students, with only one exception. For the immunization requirement, you're also required as an international student to have a TB screening done, so a tuberculosis screening. And for more questions about that, I encourage you to go see the Student Health Services website for more information.
Great, thank you. And then Pat is asking, this is a great question from Pat, is there anything current students living on campus need to do for housing in the spring semester, or anything that they should be aware of?
They don't have to do anything additional because they already have a spring assignment. However, if they are currently living in a room by themselves and they've kind of spread out, they do want to make sure that they've cleaned off the other half of their room, because they may be getting a roommate unless they've already arranged for a super single for the rest of the year. And so that's really the most important thing is, keep looking at your email, especially if there's a change in date or a change in process. You may have had an opportunity to see our Ask Anna segment last night about a lot of our COVID-19 questions. We are still waiting for guidance from the university about what opening will look like. So for our students who arrived this fall, they had to have a COVID-19 test in order to move onto campus. And so we are still waiting for guidance like that. And so please keep an eye on your email, even over the break, once you do leave campus, because there may be some steps you need to take in order to return to campus in the spring, even though you already have your key and you already have your ID card.
Mm-hmm. And that's a great point, Dave. And it also answers Yvonne's question asking about will students joining housing be tested for COVID before they move in? So like Dave just said, that guidance will come from Student Health Services, and we'll be surely spreading that information out to all of the incoming residents with that information and guidance on that.
Yes, definitely.
And on that note, a similar question from Gloria is, after reserving for fall, we were told that spring application is already done. So that's the fall-spring agreement. Do students keep the same room they selected in the fall?
Yes, they do. So you will stay right where you are unless for some reason you've made an arrangement to possibly move, but those changes would be done with your knowledge, and we would ask you to make that move well before the end of the term. And
another question from a family member with a student currently on campus. Julie is asking, my student lives on campus now. Can he leave his items there over winter break?
You can leave any items you want, but we do encourage our students to please take, small valuables. If you had to bring a 60-inch TV with you to college to live in your, 12 by 18 room, you probably don't need to bring it back home for 3 weeks. But if it's something you really want to bring with you, you can. But you can certainly leave it behind. But we always remind our students, take your medicine, take your ID, Take your passport, because believe it or not, people go to the airport and I forgot my passport, have to come back. Take your glasses, take your chargers. That's a big thing people also forget, and we're not always going to be easily available on campus during the break in order to assist you in getting back into your building in order to get your belongings should you forget them. So you want to make sure you have a nice list of things that you need to bring home, and then if you want to bring extra things, you can. But in reality, you can leave everything if you've got a duplicate of everything else at home.
Yeah, that's a great point. Thank you, Dave. And Sophia is asking, my student's date to choose a room is on October 5th. If she finds out her classes are online for spring 2021, can she cancel her housing agreement? If so, is there a penalty fee?
So I would say you need to refer to the cancellation dates in the agreement, and I'm going to quickly look at those just to verify that I'm telling you the correct information. So just give me one moment because I haven't looked at those recently. But all the contract information is available on the website. But if you are a student who is doing the spring only, let's see. One moment, scroll down. So under section 4, there is a chart. Registration doesn't start until November 2nd. That I learned today. If you have an assignment and you decide by November 1st that all your classes are, or if you determine that all your classes are online by November 1st, there would be no charge to cancel. If you canceled after November 1st, so November 2nd to December 1st, there would be a $250 charge. After December 2nd up to the 11th, it would be $500. From the 12th to the 23rd, $1,000. And then from the 24th to the 9th of January, $1,500. So it does go up pretty steadily after November 1st, but you should have a good idea of what classes you're looking to take before November 2nd. And so I would just, while you won't be able to actually register for your courses until after November 2nd, depending on what your registration schedule would look like, you can look and see what classes you want to take. And all that class information, I believe, should be available on Monday. And I believe you may have already received an email for our continuing students about what your class schedule will look like. But my belief is that there'll be less online courses this spring than there were for this fall, as we start progressing further along in our opening phases.
And Dave, what section of the agreement are you on? Because what we'll do is provide a link in the comments to the agreement for the spring semester, and then that way the viewer can just go straight to the section for the cancellations.
Sure, it's section 4, part 3C, and
Okay,
it's called
great.
Cancellation Fee Chart and Policy.
Great. We'll drop that agreement into the comment section so that you have that available to you. So we have gotten through all the questions that have come in, which is great. The last question is about roommate groups, so it's the perfect segue to finish off with that demonstration about who you can put in your roommate group, how you do it, and then how the room selection process works for the roommate group.
Okay, so I am going, let me just double check that I have this right. Okay, here's the portal. So I'm going to go back to the portal home, and now I'm going to share my screen again. And so here's the portal home. And under my account, you'll see Roommate Group Manager. When it's available, it'll be in green. And again, this is the development site, so it's not available at the moment. Now let me grab the other screen. So if you were able to get on the Roommate Group Manager section, this is what it will look like. So it's going to give you a lot of information on how to create and or manage your roommate group. And creating a group, joining a group, leaving a group. The really nice thing about this, and it gives you some common questions here, is, and so I've already got, it looks like I created a group at one point. I've asked Fake Guy, someone I knew named Fake Guy, to participate in my group, and he was a member. The
Yeah, I'm pretty
reason
sure
he
this
did
was
not
from our
show
last
up,
time.
yeah, the reason he did not show up when I went to select a room was either he already had a room or he wasn't ready for selection. Now, we've made it at this point that you can only request a person to be your roommate if they are ready for selection. And so they need to have completed all the steps of their application. And even if they're a continuing student, you can select them as a roommate. So let's say you know somebody who's currently here living on campus and you want to be their roommate in the spring. Either they or you can form that group, invite that person. But what we're going to do is we're going to actually try to get you assigned before the 5th so that you're essentially guaranteed to get your roommate pairing. And we've already done that for almost a dozen students, and we're willing to do it for more. And an invitation for a student is very easy. You click invite. You can either put in their first name, their last name, or their university ID number. Some students will share it, some won't. Just remember that if your friend has a very common name, like let's say Robert Smith, there could be a few of those. So the best thing to do would be to say, hey, can you share your university ID number with me? And then you can do a search for that. So I happen to know somebody named Screen Test, search, found Screen Test, submit. Now it's trying to say, you can't, let me see. They are not ready for assignment, so you can't add them to the group. So I can't add my friend's Screen Test. So there's a great way to know that. Now, if Screen Test was available, I would get another message saying, you can't add Screen Test because Screen Test is an opposite gender of yours. And so you can only add people to your roommate group that are actually either identify the same as you or are the same as you sex-wise. And then once you have your roommate group set up, you can click submit, and each person that you ask to join your group will get an email at their USF email account saying that Screen Demo asked you, Fake Guy, to join a group. And then Fake Guy can log into the system and say, I accept the invite. Now, Fake Guy can also go in and say, I don't want to be in that group anymore. I'm going to quit the group. And so that means that Fake Guy would actually end up leaving the group, and you would get an email saying, and everybody else in the group would get an email saying, Fake Guy left the group. And I can also say, you know what, Fake Guy, I don't want you anymore. And Fake Guy's gone. Only once I click submit. And that's really how it looks out. So here I remove Fake Guy, I click submit. Okay, you've done it. And now I should be getting an email any moment saying that Fake Guy was removed from the group. And Fake Guy will also get an email saying he was removed from the group.
Which is
Does that
important
help?
to keep in mind. Yes.
Yeah. So we found it to be very good because no longer are you being unfriended without you being told.
Mm-hmm.
Because that used to happen a lot. We'd get a lot of students saying, hey, why didn't I get my roommate? And you really need to talk to your roommate,
Yeah.
the person you thought was going to be your roommate, because we don't want to tell you. We don't want to be the person to tell you, I'm sorry, you just been unfriended,
Right.
to use a Facebook phrase.
Mm-hmm. So, okay, so we're at the point now where we've created the roommate group, so that's half of it, and then going in to select the room as the roommate group manager. So the person that is the roommate group manager goes in and selects the room on behalf of the group. Is that correct?
Actually, anybody in the group can select the rooms for
Okay.
everybody else. So essentially, when you join that group and you all approve to be part of that group, you're giving everybody permission in that group to select for you. So
Okay.
what we usually do is, we've talked earlier about I have 1:30, I have 12, I have 4, I have the next day out of the 4 people in the group. My suggestion would be for the person who's got 12 o'clock on the first day of selection, that should be the person that should select for all 4 of you. Because
Right.
they've got the best time, they've got the best shot to get the room that you all want. The real big thing about that is have that discussion of what's our first choice, what's our second choice, what's our third choice, because your first choice may not always be available. So for that person who put in the question about Pinnacle, Pinnacle, by the time you get in, it may not be available. So you want to have some backups in your mind about where else you might want to live.
Mm-hmm. So the communication between the roommates is key. Definitely making sure that everyone's on the same page with where they want to live, what their first choice, second choice, third choice, who has the first appointment to select the rooms. That should be the person going in and making that room selection. So the next question, I have a couple more questions before we wrap up this evening. The first is from a viewer, Lori. She sees that there's an off-campus housing page, which I'm assuming to be the affiliated properties. Is that apartments recommended by the college, or are they also managed by the college?
They are not managed by the university, but they are properties that we have. They petitioned to be what we call an affiliated property back when we were doing that process, and we've reviewed their management structure, their property records, and determined that they run their property as close to college housing as we would, and so we have accepted them, and so they would be what we would call a recommended property.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
but
great. Thank you for that.
If there are any issues, while we can talk to them, we can't make them do anything. We do not manage those properties, so I can't say that enough.
Right. Mm-hmm. Okay. And then one of the questions that I had pre-planned for you that we didn't touch on tonight, I wanted to talk about the slight change in the process coming up this spring. So usually when room selection closes, someone that has an application on file, in the past, they would get automatically assigned to a room. So for spring, when does room selection close, and what happens to someone who never participated in room selection? What happens with their assignment and their application?
Okay, that's a great question, and there is a change from previous years, and for some people who are listening, they may see this as a wonderful change. For those who don't participate in room selection will go up until, I believe it's noon on Friday, December 11th. I believe that's the end date. It's either that or Monday the 14th, but I think we said noon.
I can
December
double
11th.
check that. It's on the calendar, so I can double check and post that if there's any changes in that.
But my gut is noon on Friday the 11th of December. So if you don't assign yourself by then, what we're going to do is we're going to reach out to you the following week and say, hey, you didn't select a room. We would like to assign you. However, we're going to need a little bit more information. And so please go into your application. And now we're going to ask you, please put in some room or building preferences so that we have an idea of where to assign you. If you don't do that, and a week goes by, and we'll have that information in the actual email, we're going to say, okay, we haven't heard from you. You haven't made any positive action toward requesting a room for the spring beyond submitting the application. We're going to cancel your application. And if this is not something you wanted and you still want a room, you can always reinstate your application and update your preferences so that we can assign you to a room. But we are going to wait for an affirmative action from you, whether it's, yes, please assign me anywhere, or here are my preferences, I want to live in Pinnacle Hall. If you're going to put in preferences, please put in more than one, because the first option may not be available. And you'll notice that we did not have preferences on the original application. And that's because a lot of students said, no, I selected Pinnacle. No, you put in a preference for Pinnacle. And so that's why we wait until after room selection is over to provide an opportunity to actually preference where you'd like to live.
Thank you. Thanks for that clarification. So it's important to go in and select your room when you have the availability to do so, when you're assigned that time slot, because the sooner you do that, the more the sooner that you can secure that space. So
Yeah, we really want you to be in the driver's seat and really be able to have as much control as possible. I mean, you can't control availability, but you can control everything else, and we want to make sure that you can have at least as close to the experience that you were expecting as possible.
And before we go, I do have one more question from the audience. Mary is asking, if my daughter moves into a double room, but she ends up alone, is she paying for both spaces?
No, she will not. However, she needs to be prepared to possibly get a roommate at any given time. But we will also offer her the opportunity to ensure that she doesn't get a roommate by selecting the room as a super single.
All right, Dave. Well, we got through my questions and we got through the audience's questions. So thank you to everyone who is watching and for your patience if you stuck with us through that commercial break that we had. I want to invite everyone to join us for a Facebook Live on Friday at noon here on Housing and Residential Education's Facebook page. We're going to be talking with Dr. Puccio about the flu shot and answering all your questions about that. So, Dave, thank you so much for joining us this evening. Do you have any final thoughts or advice going into yet another room selection process?
I think, we've touched on how important it is to communicate with your roommate or your prospective roommates during room selection. It doesn't end there. The important thing, and I think anybody who lives on campus or has lived on campus, is to continue that communication throughout your time. Don't let things fester. Talk to your roommate because, sometimes you're going with someone you've never known before, and so you got to get to know them and understand that the secret to a successful roommate pairing and a successful time in housing is not just getting things that you want, but also learning to compromise and enjoy differences. I had roommates that were very different when I was in school, and I think I grew a lot from learning from them and them learning from me. And it took communication, it took patience, it took agreeing, and sometimes agreeing not to agree, but not making an issue of not agreeing. And so being someone who you can work with and understand that you're not always going to be in charge. And so that's part of what we're trying to teach you here in housing is that, sharing's caring. You hear that from when you're a little kid. It's just as important when you get to college.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great advice, and it's definitely an amazing learning opportunity. I know that going into college, I didn't anticipate it, but the roommates that I was assigned randomly ended up being my lifelong best friends, and I know that so many people can say the same. So going into it with an open mind and a positive attitude can really be life-changing. So we're so excited for everyone that's coming to join us here at USF and start their journey on campus.
Yep, that's what we're all about.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again, Dave, and thank you again to all of you watching and to our production crew. And hopefully we will see you on Friday when you tune in for the Flu Shot Q&A. Until then, go Bulls!
Go Bulls.